Ladies and gentlemen, let's go over to tonight's class with you. It is a speed time class. It's one time around the field. Of course, I'm going to be young George here as we have the pleasure to have him joining us. He was also the course designer for the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. As he's designed fences here, number 1 through 12, starting on the Longines Equestrian Oxford, located here on the southeastern side of the arena, jumping back towards the scoreboard end. We'll roll back to fence number 2, our Sacramento bridge fence, located in the center of the show arena. It's a right-hand bend up to fence number 3, the yellow tulip boxer, jumping towards our VIP. A quick rollback here to the crease cod, the Longines World Cup jumping vertical, fence number 4, down to the pastel Liverpool, fence number 5. Straight down the arena here to the in-gate fence number 6, the CWB jump. Towards the in-gate, you may see that jump come down quite often off the bend. Staying on the right-hand lead now is the combination 7A and B made out of our butterfly vertical to boxer combination. Straight up the arena to the Apollo transport jump with the black horse heads on the standards. That's fence number 8. It's 9A and B, the combination next, right in front of where many of you are sitting in the stands. The lattice with the pink and white rails. You'll see many of those riders take a quick left-hand inside turn. So fence number 10, our Lasher Automotive Group, the skidding fence. Now we call that the skidding jump, the rail just 8 feet long. Very light as well. Fence number 10 may come down long tonight. 2 more jumps remaining on the right-hand turn. They'll come right in front of the box seating area to the Longines Oxford. And straight down the arena to the natural Oxford at the far end, fence number 12. We're just over 15 minutes away from the top of the order with 33 horse and rider combinations for the Murleta Men's Class B class.
Good evening. Welcome to the Murreta Inn and Spa, our meter 40 competition against the clock. Speed event tonight. Susan Ortez joining me up in the booth here. And, well, you know what? We have a nice large field, 33 in total. Speed is the name of the game tonight. Also, earlier we had the last year's Elk Grove Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, our ride and drive. And that wonderful family owned and operated for over 60 years in the Elk Grove Auto Mall. Well, you know what? We're staying with speed tonight as, once again, the Murreta Inn and Spa in this meter 40 speed challenge. And that wonderful inn and spa, well, make sure you check out their website for grand opening events and specials for the planned opening early 2017. Well, 33 in total. Got some great names in here, Susan, and what do you think? You've walked the course.
I think it's going to be a very good course. It's very fast. I mean, the track is fast. There's one option, but it's a bit of galloping and some tight rollbacks. It's got a little bit of everything.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I love the names on the list that are going to be joining us because I think right now it's pretty much anybody's game.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those, another course designed by Guilherme George, the brilliant course designer from Brazil. And once again, doing such a wonderful, well, putting out 14 efforts, numbered 1 through 12. Not a lot of combinations on course, but there are 2. And those are those in and outs at 7A and 7B, 9A and 9B as well. Well, looking at the list, well, we have Peter Brashenik in there, Christian Heineking, Ray Texel, Uma O'Neill, Georgina Bloomberg, all the way from the East Coast, Niall Nassar, who is a speed master. I'm off this list. I can't pick anybody.
I think it's anyone's guess tonight.
Well, and we are just on the footsteps of Sacramento, Rancho Murrieta, this beautiful facility here, the Middle Day, day number 3, 2016 Sacramento International Horse Show. Thank you, everybody online at FEI YouTube for joining us, as I think we are in for an amazing event tonight.
Longines FEI World Cup Jumping North American League. 14 qualifying events across 3 countries in North America. Canada, USA, Mexico, from July 2016 to April 2017. 14 riders qualify to a global final to take place in Omaha. Tune in.
Equestrians live in a different world. One with an animal who has a mind, body, and soul of his own. This October, the world's best horses and riders come together under one roof in Del Mar to compete for World Cup points. Join us for the Del Mar International Horse Show, October 12th through the 23rd at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. 2 hearts, 1 passion, equestrian.
What happens when you sell lots of Dodges, Chryslers, Jeeps, and Ram trucks? You become the #1 Dodge dealer in Northern California with the largest inventory in Northern California. Hey, it's Vince Bloom, the big guy at Lasher's Oak Grove Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram. And when you sell that many cars and trucks, you need lots of lots. Lots here, lots there, lots across the street, and online, all at the lowest price, and serviced by the best techs. Find your next car at Lasher's Oak Grove Dodge. In the Oak Grove Auto Mall, online at oakgrovedodge.com. For over 60 years, our name means a great deal.
At Urites Village, our mission is to uplift and transform communities with orphanages. We need to make sure these children have access to clean water and sanitation, sustainable agriculture, medical care, and educational opportunities. My dream is to build an orphanage where these kids can grow up
in a safe, loving environment where their basic needs are met. Every child has that right.
We need your help. These children need your help. It takes a village to create this kind of change.
Odiseo by Cavalia, now playing under the white big top in San Jose.
And once again, we are broadcasting live on FEI YouTube and EQ Sportsnet's production, putting on this wonderful event, the Murreta Inn and Spa, as they are broadcasting this live right around the globe. You know what? Yesterday, great competition, that Grand Prix qualifier for tomorrow. But this event, 1 meter 45, a meter 45 speed, and again, 33 horse and rider combination. Susie, you walk the course. Any trouble spots you think on course?
Well, there's a couple of options as far as where you could possibly leave strides out if you have a big strided horse, and that could definitely save a little bit of time, but there's also some very tight rollbacks. So in some cases, you might not want to leave a stride out if you know you have to land and turn quickly.
Now, when I was walking the course, fence number 5 to fence number 6, I walked it on a 6. I'm not sure it's the oxer coming across that diagonal. It comes from fence number 4, which is the 3-stride here, which is the Longines FEI World Cup jumping. And from there, the vertical to the Liverpool. Well, I thought it was a nice 3, but then the 6, I think, comes up fairly quickly.
The 6 walked a little bit short, and I think you will see some people do 5 strides instead of 6.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you can take the bend out of it if you stay a little bit to the right, and you can just gallop up a little bit, and I think some people will leave that stride out and do that in 5.
Now, the combinations on course, obviously with speed, possibly single fences are maybe a little bit easier to jump. The combinations, you have to steady up a little bit more for them?
Well, it depends on your horse. Some horses are very good combination jumpers, and some require a little bit more help from the rider. But I think both of the combinations that are in this course are not too difficult. One's a vertical coming in and an oxer coming out, and then the pretty pink and white, which is, I think, 980. Is oxer to vertical, but it's not long, and it's but you do have to land and make a tight rollback to come back the other direction to the skinny jump. So I think that's a place where just someone might not want to take too many risks and gallop into that double, knowing that they're going to try to turn in the air coming out over B to get back to that skinny.
Now, turning in the air, as you mentioned, fence number 9B, you have to make that roll back onto fence number 10. In fact, we are going down onto the field as the colors being presented for a host nation.
Oracle from Sacramento, California. Specialist Phillips Power from Dublin, California. And Specialist Nicole Coyle from Chico, California. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us on the red carpet this evening as our anthem singer, Ryan Ann Poley. Ryan joins us from just down the road in Wilton, California. She's been involved in the Northern California horse show scene her entire life, and it's our pleasure to bring her here as our national anthem singer. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Poley.
So proud.
certainly just a great way to start with the national anthem here in the United States, Rancho Murrieta, California. That is our location, $36,500 Murrieta Inn and Spa, meter 45 speed challenge. I think we've got a great crowd tonight here joining us both online and also live as it's being broadcast FEI YouTube. So once again, I'm joined by Susan Ortez. Thank you so much once again for joining me tonight. It's going to be a great evening. I'm really excited about this.
Thanks, Devin. It's a very strong field for a speed class. I think it's how many do we have here? We've got 35, and they're all very good riders, all very quick horses. The time allowed, when I looked at it, I don't think it's super tight, so I think that's not going to be a major issue.
Well, the time allowed 77 seconds. Length on course 445 meters, so a little bit less than half a kilometer. 14 jumping efforts, 2 combinations. Well, I mean, as you said, I mean, we do have a nice large field. In fact, we're going to go off of. So I think, in fact, we are down a couple, and we're down to 33 tonight, but 33 still great horses, great riders as well joining us. And I mean, at this point in time, to pick a favorite, I can't. I mean, I might go with Niall Sar because he won the Longines Speed Challenge in Long Beach last week at the LA Masters, but each one of these riders.
Well, each week is different, and we've got to remember that the horses sometimes that they're using for this speed class are not horses that will go tomorrow night. If they went last night to qualify for Saturday night, they may be going tonight instead of tomorrow night.
Okay,
so
true.
They could be some horses that we saw from last night, but they could be a second string or a different speed horse. Specifically for this speed class.
And still, certainly lots of prize money, $36,500, the Murrieta Inn and Spa, our meter 45 challenge. In this competition against the clock, time allowed once again 77 seconds. There's the sound of the tone. Katie Harris starts us off, and an amateur rider from the United States, just down the road, in fact, from Sacramento. And this is a new 10-year-old gelding she's aboard, Garcus Van Het Indehoff. Well, that's the first time I've actually pronounced that horse's name, so that is certainly, I was just talking to her beforehand. She said this is a brand new horse that hasn't had for a very long time, but she's a great rider.
I looked a little bit sticky there. Maybe she didn't quite have enough pace to the first jump, or he looked into the crowd a bit.
Now, with this being, I was talking to Katie, she said this is a new horse. How long does that relationship have to come together? Does it take a while?
It does take some time. I mean, I think even for a professional rider, there's some professional riders that are very good at getting on strange horses and, going into competition right away. I think for an amateur rider, it's going to take more time. It could take 6 months. It could take a year. It could be quicker than that. You might get to know a horse in a couple of months if it's a really easy type and a very good match.
There's that second of the combinations you were talking about, the pink one where they have to make that rollback turn.
Right. So she used her left rein and right leg a little bit in the air there to make that turn.
Now with that turn, it's fairly precise timing, because if not, then you can affect the horse's jump.
Yes, you don't want to interrupt the horse's jump with your hand. It's a little bit like trying to leave the ground with your hand on the emergency brake. So.
And we're coming to the final fence. And there's that finish line, 69.53. You mentioned the time. Certainly, probably not going to be a factor.
No, I don't think it will.
Time allowed 77 seconds. So 20 jumping faults, but new partnership right there. Personally, I like what I saw from the horse.
Well, and it got better at the end, and that's always a good sign. If they improve as they go, then they're getting to know each other on course.
Okay, strange question. As we're coming through this combination, I know she had the B element. Got there just maybe a little bit too close to it. But for horses, I know people can have stage fright. Does that happen to horses sometimes? They come in, they're like, oh my goodness, like there's a lot of sound, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of activity.
There is a lot of activity, and the light was a little bit funny for her. I think they had a bit of a spotlight on her partway through the course, and then they took it away. So I don't know if that could have been a distraction. That would be something that she might notice, or the horse might notice.
Great rider here from Germany. Always fast, always in the placings. Christian Heineking, and he's aboard NKH Quanto. They've had a nice partnership together. Again, just little.
All right, I'm going to venture to say that it's a bit shadowy there, and the horses might see their own shadow as they leave the ground, because he did look down into that first jump, and so did Katie's horse.
So as you mentioned, the shadow, so obviously a shadow has a tendency, I mentioned there's Liverpool on course as well, just those slight little distractions can take them off their game.
Yes, it can. I mean, not so much for a very well-seasoned horse, but for a horse that might be a little bit spooky, Sometimes the shadows are just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It can happen during the day with the sun in the morning or in the afternoon, and certainly it can sometimes happen indoors as well.
Well, an NKH Quanto 10-year-old gelding, a Holsteiner by breeding.
And that was an example of the 5-stride. He did 5 strides in that short 6 very easily, even though we know that he's not trying to be competitive at this point.
Now, obviously, with that stop, and you said you still practice things on course, even.
Right. I mean, every course you jump, it's always different every time we go in the ring. So it's always an opportunity to help a horse learn, unless it's a horse with so much experience that you don't want to waste those jumps in his career. But otherwise, in many cases, you want to finish the course because it's a good experience for both horse and rider.
Well, especially as you mentioned, Katie's horse improved as it went along. This horse looks like it's relaxing a little bit more.
Yeah, he's giving it a very strong, positive ride without being too fast, just to give the horse confidence for the next time it goes in the ring.
Well, the time 100.10 seconds, and the total score will be 22 faults to move into second place. Christian Heineking, he has a second ride as well. He'll be back in just a little bit and later on in our competition.
Here's the replay. So he might have just seen his shadow of his own body as he started to leave the ground. I can't imagine that there's anything under there that would cause a horse to look that strongly. And then again, I think the stop there was just left over from that first mistake, and he hadn't processed it very quickly in his own mind. The horse had not.
Also, the third rider, well, he rides out of California, but originally from Austria. And Peter Brzezinek, he's aboard the 14-year-old gelding St. Quentin. This rider, this horse, they've been together for quite a while. They've had success at the Grand Prix level. And the horse just a little bit older, 14 years of age. The first two were 10-year-olds. So obviously younger horses, less experienced.
And some horses are just naturally more spooky of things on the ground. So we'll see what happens here to fence one. He had the liberty of being able to find out that the first two horses were very sticky at number 1. I think he rode that strongly just to be on the safe side.
So again, so that's, I mean, going first, you don't have those liberties of some people.
Exactly.
That's always sometimes the advantage, as we mentioned yesterday, going first, where you can press the time, press the score, but then sometimes you're not sure where the spookiness is.
Right.
Beautifully through that combination.
Oh, I think he got his eye on the wrong jump there for a second. A little bit dodgy, and he did have that. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Well, it could be the crowd that he's looking at.
Well, we do have a very large crowd in the indoor stadium. So Peter Brzezinek and St. Quentin. Unfortunately, that refusal, that's going to cost them some time, and I do believe he's retiring. Yeah, he's going to retire.
Well, Peter's going to take a schooling fence here and retire.
So sometimes with the crowds, I mean, it can distract the horses.
It can. I don't know if it was. I don't know that it was that the horse was looking at the crowd necessarily, or he was backed off for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why.
Well, and this horse rider combination, the rider rides for Brazil. He's aboard Karushka 2, and this is a beautiful 12-year-old gray mare, Eduardo Meneses, who represented Brazil at the Rio Olympics. And they showed last night in the Grand Prix qualifier, and then tonight again in our meter 45. Obviously, they're not going tomorrow in the Longines FEI World Cup Jumping Sacramento, presented by last year's Elk Grove Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Right. This horse is a very fast speed horse. He's won a lot of speed competitions on her, and she's very well suited for this course, I think. She can leave the strides out where the options are, and she's also very quick to turn.
Well, that was a brilliant turn.
Yeah. So that's leaving a stride out. That walked in 8, and he did that in 7. The 3 will get short here for him. And here's probably the 5. Right. So you just take that bend out, and the 6 can become 5 quite easily. That was beautiful.
Right now, just a fantastic run for Eduardo Meneses and Karushka. as you mentioned, just this is a brilliant speed mare.
Yes, she's very good at this, and he knows her very well. Okay, and you know, those jumps are very close together, and I do think that she looked a little bit at the wrong one for just a split second. All right, and in that last line, I walked that line in a very kind of a nice galloping 9, and he galloped right up there in 8. So that time is going to be something that people are going to shoot for, even though he did have a jump down.
So, I mean, more or less 3 lines. It took out all the strides. And you're right, there's the... He's coming into that 3 stride. And Eduardo rode that beautifully just to get the 3.
Mm-hmm.
So he had just that 1 rail down, 4 faults, 58.67 seconds, really fast time.
I think that's a good time to shoot for.
Yeah, and so he moves into first place right now, $36,500 Murrieta in and Spa, meter 45 speed challenge. We'll go to the rider from the East Coast, from New York, New York, Georgina Bloomberg. She rides the USA, Kalino 3, a 12-year-old gelding. As we mentioned last night, Georgina Bloomberg, always a pleasure to watch. She gives her horses always such a nice, solid ride.
Right now it's
She does, and she's taking her time and making sure that her horse is listening to her. I think ideally, as you come to this first jump, you can have just a little bit of an angle from left to right. She's pretty straight there, but she landed a little left. She'd added 1 more stride there than Eduardo did.
Oh, that's too bad.
Number 5 got steady for her. I think it'll be very surprising if you see anyone do 6 there.
Because obviously if you're going to add that extra stride, it just eats up that much more time. I mean,
right. I mean, if you needed to land and turn to go somewhere quickly, but you don't in that case. You can land and you have to go around to jump anyway, so you may as well go forward and leave the step out.
it's always amazing over top of the fences. You see how skilled these riders and the horses are. They're going to make a left-hand turn and the horse starts to in the air turn.
Mm-hmm. And you have to, that requires a lot of practice and feel so that you can not only the horses jump, you can guide them in the air.
Mm-hmm. So 4 faults, 60.33 seconds. Not as fast as Eduardo Meneses and Karushka, but in the second place for the USA, Georgina Bloomberg and Kalino 3. And she just has such a beautiful feel over top of the fences with her horses, rides them all over top of the oxers. Now, fence number 12, you see that CW fence in the way. Is fence 12 almost a blind fence as they come around, or they still have a couple strides?
They have a couple strides. It is probably the biggest oxer on the course. And always when you have a jump that's just past the outgate, horses always know where the barn is. So they tend to drift a little bit out toward that outgate, so that can be a bit of a surprise to have a jump just past the in-gate.
Now, we see some of these riders, they come in, and it's almost like they allow their horses to see some of the fences on course. This is Uma O'Neill and Zatello, a 9-year-old stallion. Is that normal that you let your horse possibly look at something? If
you feel that your horse has a particular style of jump that he may spook of a little bit more than another jump, then yes, you might want to go in and have them just take a look at it.
And she rode that first fence.
She angled it, yeah. She angled a little bit from right to left so that she would land more to the inside and aiming toward the next jump.
Great young rider here from Santa Cruz, California, Uma O'Neill, and that combination. And an interesting thing that I'm noticing with the riders, as they jump over top of that fence, they start to look. It seems like they're looking for something.
You always need to look in the direction that you're going to be going. Horses are sensitive, so they can feel the change in your balance. When you look and you turn your head and you change your balance a little bit, they can follow you. They can predict which direction you want to go.
This young rider having a brilliant round.
Yeah, very good for her. Really well done. She'll be very happy with this,
Absolutely fantastic, Uma O'Neill, and you can tell right there she is super happy with that. clear round. That's what she was looking for. Not the fastest, but you know what? Right now, you don't have to be the fastest, just the clear.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty impressive. I mean, she kept her cool. She followed a plan. It looked like everything went according to the plan that she created for herself.
And just a great ride. Beautiful jump over that final fence right there on the replay. 67.16 seconds. Well, Murreta Inn and Spa, that is our time to beat, 67.16. And looks who is in the ring. Ray Texel and Baldira, an 11-year-old chestnut mare. And Ray, obviously a very nicely seasoned professional rider.
Yes, and chestnut mares have a bit of a reputation for being a little bit more difficult than other horses.
Oh, really?
There's been plenty of successful ones for sure, but some people say they're like red-headed women.
Ah. So is it okay? Let's talk about that, because we're talking about a mare. I mean, Uma was aboard a stallion. Do they all kind of, mares maybe a little bit more difficult, stallions more difficult, geldings more difficult?
No, geldings are always generally a little bit easier. They have less of an opinion. Sometimes geldings are more suited for amateur riders than stallions or mares are. But every horse is different, so there's no rule that's set in stone. That was very quick around the corner, I think.
That was very quick. He did the 5 down that line and then through that combination. He just looks like he's really flowing with his horse.
Yep. So far, so good.
Oh.
No, I think he didn't quite square that turn up enough. But still, a fast 4 falter would be a good score thus far.
So 4 faults, 60.76 seconds. He's going to move into 4th place, 3rd fastest of the 4 falters, Valdira and Ray Texel. Hey, let's go back to a term you used. He didn't square up that oxer quite enough.
Especially when you're jumping into a double, you want to make sure you get there straight. And if he...
Okay, so there he got into that 7AB straight.
That was very straight. And the other double is... He saw the distance that he wanted to leave the ground from, and he turned to it just a little quickly.
Oh, and of course, because the other one is an oxer coming in.
Exactly. So he needed the space to be able to get across the width of the oxer, and he just cut it. He sliced it just a little bit too much.
Okay, so I think one of the youngest horses in the field, 8 years old, a gelding here, zaps her up. And Enrique Gonzalez from Mexico. And obviously I expect good things from Enrique, because in speed competitions, jump-offs, he always wants to go for it.
Yes.
But then unlike Uma, it didn't look like he sliced that first fence.
No, and look, he went around this jump to get there, so to get to jump 2, so he's thinking a little bit in a conservative manner.
Now, is that possibly because the horse is only 8 years of age? And
It's possible. I'm not familiar with this horse. I don't know how long he's had it. So it could be that he's getting to know the horse, or it's quite green. It is a very good jumper, however. So I think he just wants to give the horse a positive ride, hoping that a good, solid, clear round will still give him a good ribbon. So it's very athletic, this horse.
It's athletic, and it looks like it's quick as well. It knows where its legs are.
It's a great type of horse, and I feel like it's just a little bit lacking in the rideability department, so he just wants to be sure that he's giving it a solid ride.
When you watch that horse come around that corner, I think exactly as you said, there's the 2 verticals side by side. It almost looks like the horse locked on.
It's easy for them to look at the wrong one, yeah.
Now, how hard is that to get their attention back?
Well, when you're only a stride a half away from the jump you want to do, it's hard. I mean, he did a great job. The horse did twist a little bit over the skinny jump, but he's just trying to be extra careful.
Well, a great time, 74.75 seconds. Main thing, as we think he was going for, and that was the clear round. See, he had a look.
Yep, so they just get the right, and then watch the horse's hind end here, how it throws itself a little to the side there.
And is that just to give it a little bit more room?
Yeah, the horse is trying to think about his hind end, and he wants to be sure he's not going to hit that, so he just did everything he could to avoid having a rub there.
Well, I think Enrique Gonzalez has a really nice young horse there at 8 years of age. And our next horse, Revenge, a 15-year-old gelding. Well, Michelle Fellers, the rider for the USA, and a Swedish warmblood. And this rider certainly good at speed competitions as well.
So people are getting 7 strides from 1 to 2. Not everyone. I think there's a 6 there also. I did sort of walk it. You never want to stick to too much of a number on a curve like that because a lot of things can go wrong or change, but I think that 6 strides from 1 to 2 is very doable. I thought that was a little bit of a cheap rail. I mean, sometimes horses just hit jumps. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I mean, from our vantage point, it barely looked like the horse touched the rail.
Yeah.
She moved down to this combination with that rollback turn.
So she went to her stick there to give her horse a little bit of confidence to leave the ground and cross the oxer. So she used her stick off the ground there and did it very well. Sometimes that little bit of encouragement is extremely helpful.
Just the one fence remaining, 8 faults.
And I think she's new, not new to this horse, but she's had some injuries, Shelley has, and so she's had to recover from those injuries, and it's been a while for her to she hasn't been in the ring that much on this horse lately.
We're just jumping into that 3 stride right here.
Yeah. It's just a little slow coming off the ground with his front end. He might have been looking at the Liverpool.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's correct. Liverpool's not too far away.
Right. He might have focused on that and just not paid enough attention to the rail there.
Another amateur rider, and that brings us to Tiffany Sullivan, and she's aboard the 12-year-old gelding, well, aptly named Christian Grey.
So she sliced a little bit there. You see she's got a little bit of an angle there. There's the 6. That was well done.
Now this horse is big, though. Does it, on a bigger horse, does it make the 6 a little bit easier or leaving out
Generally,
strides?
yes, yeah.
But then obviously, if you have to compact them, it makes it just that much harder.
Exactly, yeah. The big horses with big strides, in general, it's easy for them to leave strides out and harder for them to have to compress their stride into a shorter step.
Nice solid ride through that combination. Looks like she's trying to get her reins back because they seem to have gotten...
Well, again, it's a big horse with a long neck, and I think sometimes she feels like she has to let go of it in the air a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And so she loses her reins, or she doesn't lose them, but they slip through her fingers a little bit and get a little long. Like here, she'll probably try to shorten them if she can, or not.
Now, is it harder when you have 2 sets of reins in each hand to shorten them?
A little bit, sure. I mean, you get used to it, and you practice, and some people are better at holding 2 reins than others, but I like everyone to have to practice that because sometimes 2 reins are just better than 1.
So 69.35 seconds, 4 jumping faults, 4th fast of the 4 falters. Here she comes into that 3 stride.
Now, she was just a little bit too deep there.
Now, do you think that fence is going to be coming down a number of times just because they're making that turn, they want to make a more efficient turn, and it may come up a little bit too fast?
I don't think so. I think it's a matter of the riders that we've seen so far being a little bit rushed through the turn in their heads. You can make a tight turn, and I think sometimes people think about riding the line itself instead of just riding that jump as a single jump and then riding out to the Liverpool.
Oh, so it's more or less don't think past the moment,
exactly,
ride in the moment.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes riding and show jumping difficult is that you have to think about what you're doing at that very second, and you also have to be thinking ahead in the next couple of strides and beyond. So it's a bit of a mind game.
So this is a 9-year-old gelding, Baraka, the rider from Egypt. Well, he's always good at the speed game, Nael Nassar. I'm saying from Egypt, he now lives in Southern California.
Right.
Okay, so a 9-year-old gelding, pretty much just getting up into his Grand Prix career.
And Nael is naturally a fast rider. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he was a little quiet there, but he's going to make up for it soon here, I bet. So he really thought about just jumping into this 3-stride and then jumping out. That was just a little awkward on the horse's part. He got a little shifty there.
Now that fence coming directly towards that in gate. Could that have been a factor? And there's also the LED board, the Jumbotron.
The Jumbotron for a younger horse certainly can be distracting, especially because a lot of these horses have been outside on big grass fields, and even though they may have a big Jumbotron, it's not right in their faces quite so close.
As good as if I find if I walk by a TV, I get distracted. So. He makes some beautiful turns on this horse.
Yeah, he teaches his horses to turn very quickly, and they tend to be smaller horses, and they're very handy, like sports cars.
So 4 faults, and the sports car and Niall Nassar coming home. Really quick time, 65.50 seconds, and 4th fastest of the 4 faulters. So that's going to put him into 6th place. Well, you know what? We watched Enrique Gonzalez go earlier. He was on that young horse. Well, it's Niall Nassar. Here's that rail.
Yeah, he shifted a little bit to one side, and I think you're right. I think he did look at the Jumbotron, because when he landed, then he looked up at the screen. The horse did. He landed, realized he'd had the jump down, and then looked up again at the moving picture on the side of the ring there.
He was just watching himself go around.
Right.
That's the fun part. So right now it's the 2 clears, and Enrique Gonzalez on that young horse going for that clean performance. You said, hey, a good solid clear still could get a good placing.
Yes,
right now
could.
in 2nd place, Uma O'Neill of the U.S. leads the way, 67.16 seconds. Well, Carol Wright, there's the rider and the owner of the 14-year-old Grey Gelding Conejito.
Yeah, if you take a look at this horse's running martingale, it's a bit of a different color than some of the other horses are. It looks different, and it looks different because it's stretchy. It's made of a stretchy, rubbery kind of material instead of leather.
So it's almost elastic. So why would you have that?
Some horses they panic a little bit if they're too restrained and too controlled by something that's stiff, and this offers a lot more flexibility. And some horses are just happier. You never really know what's going to work until you try it. But she knows this horse obviously very well, and he goes well in this.
Just coming around to that second of the combinations, 2 rails down to this point.
Yeah, see, same thing there. I think he looked a little bit at that vertical next to the one she's supposed to be jumping just for a second. But this horse does have a lot of experience. And he jumps it easily, but just not quite tidy enough.
8 jumping faults, 73.40 seconds, and into 9th place, Carol Wright and Conejito. And just there's that fence number 5. Almost looked like she got the 3 just a little too easy.
Too easily, right. And I think that the 3 walks very normal, but I think people are maybe expecting that they're going to have to push a little bit harder to get out because of the short turn leading up to it, but it's not working out that way, and they just are getting there too quickly.
Well, this is our first rider. She's back in the ring, Katie Harris and Lafino Ford. This is the 8-year-old stallion. Very impressive horse here.
Yes, this is the beautiful one.
This is the one. Yeah, this is a great stallion that Katie Harris has. Now you mentioned when you walk the course, and it walked a regular 3 from fence number 4 to 5. Does it sometimes when you walk the course, and sometimes how it rides are different?
Sure. I mean, we all pace it off on foot, but it's virgin territory. The first time you go and jump down that, you still don't really know how exactly it's going to ride. You're just trying to make an educated guess when you walk it. She needs to be quiet here. Yeah, see, again, I think she pushed a little bit and didn't need to.
Now, are possibly the riders thinking of getting that 5 afterwards? I mean, the 5s are riding a 5 all day from fence number 5 to 6, but maybe riding ahead of themselves?
It's possible. I don't think she did that in this case. I think she just underestimated the length of his stride.
Okay.
But he certainly had a great recovery from having that jump down. He does not want to hit another jump, and that's the sign of a good horse.
Well, it's a young horse, an 8-year-old stallion. Lafino for Katie Harris of the USA. Just that lone rail.
Yeah, it's a lovely horse. I think they're going to have a great future together.
He does make it look so easy.
Very easy. It's lovely.
You know, and the nice thing as well, she didn't look like she was moving that fast out there, but she has a great time, 68.70 seconds, 4 faults, and into 7th.
And it wasn't much of a mistake. It was very minor.
He just explodes over these fences.
Yeah, he's going to become a crowd favorite.
And you see how she was making the turn, and he just knew exactly where she was going.
Yeah, it's great when you can turn them in the air and they look where they're going and they follow you, but they still keep their hind ends up in the air so they don't rub a jump.
Now, is it hard to teach that? Or is it more natural ability for them?
It's not necessarily hard to teach, but some horses are just more rideable than others naturally. Some of them have a little stiffer mouth and they don't follow as well.
Well, we do have the Murreta Inn and Spa, our $36,500 meter 45 speed challenge. The master of faster right there, Richard Spooner, and he is aboard Cornanza, the horse owned by Little Valley Farms.
Right, so this is Ashley Bond's horse, and Richard's riding it while she's getting closer and closer to having her first child.
And congratulations, Ashley, if you're watching. That's awesome.
I'm sure she's watching. She wouldn't miss this.
That's true. And this is a great 10-year-old gray mare.
See, he gave the horse plenty of space there at the Liverpool.
Now, from 1 to 2, he went outside.
He did, and again, I think it's because he just wants to make sure that the horse has a positive experience. It is a bit tight. This horse is still on the greener side at this upper level.
I do love how the horse just, its ears are forward, it's going, where's the next fence?
And that was well done. He made sure that the horse got its eye on the right jump.
Oh, what a turn.
That's very quick there.
Okay, just one fence remaining.
Really well done. There you go.
What can you say by 1.27 seconds? The master of faster, Richard Spooner. That was a fantastic ride in the first place, 65.89.
And you know he was fast because he was, sometimes it is true that when you go around a jump, you can gallop. When you make a tight turn, you have to slow down. So sometimes going around is the faster option.
That was after that rollback turn off the second combination. That was picture perfect.
It was beautiful.
He picked his line. Horse is happy about that. Richard's happy. Hey.
I'm sure Ashley's happy too.
Also Avantos, an 11-year-old stallion, and Casey Immense. 65.89. That is our time to beat right now. The $36,500 Murreta Inn and Spa meter 45 speed competition. And Richard Spooner, that was just a brilliant ride we just saw.
It was. She's winding up, so she has lots of pace here. She's also opting to go around. But it does add a number of strides when you go around, so.
I guess it's kind of the offset.
Yeah, it's debatable.
Going slower,
faster.
less strides, or going faster, more strides.
It's really a matter of knowing what your horse does best.
Unfortunately, fence 4 coming down for Casey and Avantos. Looking at the first of the 2 combinations.
A little hind rub there too, so I feel like that's going to catch up here. Oh, that's never a good thing. That hurts.
Now, was it just the getting too close to the standard or anticipating the turn in the air?
Well, or the horse, sometimes, they anticipate the turn a little bit and they shift. And when it's a narrow jump like that, there just is not much room to be able to shift, and you can run your leg into the standard like that. So
let's have a look at this first rail that she had.
Again, just a little too much momentum for a vertical out of the corner.
Still jumped the oxer beautifully. So 8 jumping faults, 67.80 seconds into 11th. If that happens and you happen to, because obviously that would have been her knee, her leg taking that fence out, how distracting is that for the rider? I mean, because obviously it has to hurt.
It does. I mean, you can really damage it and it can really hurt, or you notice that it hurts, but your adrenaline takes over, and then you just ice later and deal with the bruising.
Well, Peter Boshenik back in the ring. His first ride is St. Quentin. And his second one, the 8-year-old, so a young gelding here, De L'Accento. This horse owned by world-class show jumpers. So it's coming very straight onto that first fence.
Well, if you're planning on going around this last jump in order to get to number 2, then it wouldn't really benefit you at all to slice the first jump if you're going to go straight and go around in any case. Now this is already a bit slow. He's added a stride there, more than what the others have done. I mean, it's a normal count there that he rode, but most people have left a stride out there to be quick. And I think I know why he added a stride in the first line, because he didn't think that he could fit the 3 strides in if he left one out.
So possibly a little bit more of a cautious ride because the horse is 8.
It's 8, or sometimes the age isn't as important as its experience level. If some horses at 8 years old have already been showing for 2 or 3 years pretty consistently, and others have half that much experience.
So just that, I mean, the early rail, which certainly not a big deal at fence number 5, and the horses ended up very solidly. Yeah,
he's giving it a good ride and giving it confidence. I don't think this will end up putting him in the ribbons, but it means that the horse, the next time it comes on the shows, it'll probably be better than it was today.
So 4 jumping faults for that rail, 1 time fault on the clock, the time 79.99 seconds. De L'Accento and Peter Boshenik of Austria. And just have a look at that.
Yeah, again, I just think he had trouble fitting the 3 strides in as well as he needed to. And I do think that's why he did a quiet ride from 2 to 3 instead of leaving a step out there, because the horse doesn't maybe come back very easily after galloping.
So when these horses, they come rolling through that turn to fence number 4, the vertical up to the 3 stride, if there's a lot more pace than anticipated, so the 3 actually would become possibly shorter?
Right. And sometimes it's a little bit of luck. I mean, you roll back, and if you have a distance that's a quiet waiting distance to leave the ground from, then you know the 3 is going to be fine. But if you had to go forward to get there, then you're going to have to land and shorten the horse's stride to make the 3 strides fit correctly. You do need a little space off the ground in order to be able to clear the front rail of an obstacle.
Well, here's Golden Horta, 10-year-old stallion Eduardo Meneses back in the ring for Brazil. We go back to that inside turn. So obviously Eduardo's thinking, well, it's an inside turn, less steps. Let's keep flowing with this, because he's certainly sitting in fourth place, fast as the 4 falters.
Yeah, and Eduardo with his horses now, that's a shame, because the horses that he has now, they're all pretty well seasoned at this level now. So I think that he doesn't need to be too cautious. But that was a soft rub, I think, and it came down anyway.
Nice turn back to the rollback to the skinny fence number 10.
And like I said, you still need to practice going fast. So sometimes even if you've had a jump down, you're going to go fast anyway, or sometimes even faster to try to become the fastest 4-faulter if there aren't very many clears. And that was a good way to finish.
66.20 seconds, 4 jumping faults in 8th place. So Eduardo right now in 4th. Aboard Karushka, 8th aboard Golden Horta. And that time is 66.20 seconds. I guess that's true, as exactly as you mentioned. Sometimes really good to practice at speed, because it's no different if your whole driving life, if you were just driving around the residential areas, then all of a sudden you get on the interstate and you're going from having driven at 30 miles an hour to all of a sudden, well,
exactly.
Faster.
Yeah.
So that was a beautiful turn back to the rollback. Eduardo Meneses always gives his horses such a wonderful ride. Great rider right here from Sweden, Hanna Moritzen. This horse owned by Swede Equine of San Marcos, Landless Leroy, 14-year-old gelding. And she's had quite a relationship with this
Yeah,
horse.
they've been together for quite a long time, so she knows him very well. Okay, so that's the quiet 8, but she is making a relatively short turn here. Oops, oops, oops.
Could it be he came around the corner and he didn't walk on it? She took it way too much? Or
Yeah, she might have just softened her hand a little bit. Oh, no, he's being a little bratty here.
I think maybe just a little bit of stage fright, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, he's got enough experience, but I will say again that these horses that have not been indoors under the lights since, the fall of last year, it's different. Some horses are better in these conditions because the more crowded and noisy it is, the more they want to perform, but this one's not having it tonight.
Oh, that is just some tough luck for Hannah Moritz. And Landless Leroy has 2 refusals, and that means elimination. But he started out looking great. Fence number 1, 2, jump 3, and then almost looked like he saw something he wasn't quite sure of.
Well, he doesn't want to play today.
And you know what? And unfortunately, I mean, that does happen. I mean, we all have bad days. Horses sometimes have bad days. And, well, hey, you know what? Uma O'Neill back in the ring. She currently sits in second. She held the lead for quite a while until Master Faster Richard Spooner took over that. But time to beat 65.89 seconds. She already has this course mastered. And Uma O'Neill aboard Clockwise of Green Hill Z, a 9-year-old stallion.
Well, this should be fun. She's going to have even more confidence having completed the course so nicely on her other horse.
Absolutely, because both her horses are stallions, so well behaved. I mean, they're just impeccable gentlemen.
Well, they need to be for a girl to ride, because we're not always as tough as the boys. Some of us are, and some of us aren't. But she has very nice horses. Oh, got a little wing flapping there. Beautiful jumper. And we haven't seen anyone do 6 there, have we?
No. Now, does it help this horse doesn't spend a whole bunch of time in the air? I mean, he clears the fences.
Yeah, it makes it quicker for sure. She's had a few rubs here, but looks like they're staying up. Oh, that was risky. It was a little bit too deep there, but she supported it well with her body, staying tall, and closed her leg and made it work anyway. She's got a good gallop there, but she's a little bit wider than Richard Spooner was.
Well, hopefully we can go back to the replay on that 9AB, that pink combination, because I'd like you to point out.
Look at that.
What a time. Wow,
Look
in the
at that.
first place, Uma O'Neill. You said she'd come back with confidence. She certainly did. She moves in the first place, 65.27 seconds. Well, I got to like that, because that is a young rider from Santa Cruz. She moves in the first place. In fact, she's in first and in third spot. Okay, so we're coming around here, and you said that she supported him well.
Right, so she knew she was in trouble there, and she used her stick on the neck a little bit. She clucked to him, she closed her leg, and she said, please, come on, you got to help me out here. I made a little bit of a mistake, and the horse did not mind one bit. He loves her.
Okay, so as opposed to, I mean, going, oops, I got here, and
giving up.
I hope you deal with it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. She didn't abandon ship. She just got stronger to help the horse.
No, that's perfect. Well, you know what, and it paid off, because she's in first place, 65.27 seconds.
The master of faster at that age.
That is wonderful. So Christian Heineken, he is back in the ring. He was the second to go, this time riding NKH Kalango. Young 8-year-old gelding here. Does the inside turn.
He was still a stride or two a little bit slower than some of the others that have made that turn from 1 to 2, but I think, again, judging by the color of this gray horse being a bit darker, usually that means that they are a little bit on the younger side, because they do fade and get lighter with age. So I think that this horse is not terribly experienced. Okay, got away with that. Now he knows he's going to have to ride extra strong here, because the horse stuck there, and it's going to stick here too. Yeah, but it's a trier.
So that means that when they're sticking, you have to ride them. Just you got to
have to kick harder. Yeah, because he's backed off. He's trying to be careful, so he needs a strong ride with a strong leg.
Because that was interesting. Fence number 8 and that combination, the A in, he got a little bit sticky, but then it looks like he relaxed a little bit and then got a sticky again at that second last
Right,
fence.
but Christian's doing a great job of riding around.
There's another clear run.
Now, does that sometimes happen? So he's clear into fourth place. Good time, 68.45 seconds. Great ride for Christian Heineke, and getting and producing that clear round. Especially, as you said, with a horse that got a little sticky. Like,
Right, well, because it is only 8 years old, and I don't know how he saved that, but he did.
because he almost looked like he wanted to stop there.
I think he was considering that. Yeah, he just got overly careful, is what I would call it. It's not that he doesn't want to jump.
Yeah,
He's just thinking so much about not hitting a jump that he got backed off, overly backed off, and Christian really had to ride. So that was a brilliant ride on his part.
This is Otard, a 10-year-old gelding, and Jenny McAllister riding for the USA. Well, the USA right now, first, second, and third, and two of those placings, that young rider, Uma O'Neill, just a great young rider. Now for the professionals, as they're seeing Uma O'Neill in first place, she leads the field. Do they kind of go, hey, you know what, an amateur's in first place? Really, at 65.27? Or, I mean, this is the only sport in the world where men and women compete equally.
Right, and age doesn't really make a difference. I mean, the older you are in general, the more experienced you are. Oh, that was a bad way to start. I think she went to slice that a little bit from right to left, and the horse just didn't react to her aids, and it didn't work. So I would imagine now she's going to come a little bit straighter. Nope, she's going to make him try that same thing again. It's like, you didn't do it right the first time, you're going to have to try it again.
Oh, too bad with the rail on that fence. Yeah,
So we'll see what she does with this, but...
So at this point, do you turn it into more of a schooling ride?
Yes, and that's what she's doing. I don't know that she's going to finish the whole course, but Jenny's not much of a quitter, so she may feel like she's strong enough to get this horse around and give it a better experience than just pulling up. But yeah, our sport is unique because you have 19-year-olds and 60-year-olds competing against each other, and one doesn't necessarily have an advantage over the other. And same with the men competing against women, and everyone's it's an even playing field. So even an amateur beating a professional, I promise you, the professionals they're proud of the amateur probably. They're like, hey, good for you, you're coming along.
Well, because Uma O'Neill, when she's first and third right now, her trainer sitting in 8th place, Ray Texel. So it's
a good night for them.
It's a very good night.
Yeah. I'm sure that he's very proud of her, and she's got this is probably one of the best, nights that she's ever had, I would imagine, because this is not an easy course. Yeah, so as I predicted, Jenny's going to keep going and try to make the best out of this situation.
Well, I mean, beautiful last fence. The horse really started to relax a little bit as
it did get better
as it went around, which is the main thing, as you'd mentioned. That's what you like to see.
Right.
So the time 101.08 seconds on a total of 31 faults. So there's that fence number 4. And just kind of looks like he had a little bit of possibly nerves right off the bat. I mean, fence number 3, fence number 4 coming down, the stop at fence number 1 with the rail as well. So obviously not as planned, but Jenny's a great horse person, and it's when the plan A didn't happen, she moves on to plan B and moves on to plan C. Then it's like, okay, you know what, we're gonna take this and we're gonna make something positive out of it.
Right, and a stop always rattles a little bit the horse and the rider, just enough, just enough to, it's disappointing if nothing else.
Well, a young professional rider, in fact, from San Juan Capistrano, Natalie Cooper aboard the 10-year-old gelding Conspirit. She's had this horse for a couple years.
Yeah, and this is also a very quick horse. She's going around. And she's got that, that was a shame. She's got that big fuzzy on her horse's nose, fuzzy nose band.
I think that's just for comfort.
Sometimes that is what they call a shadow roll. And if a horse has a tendency to look down at shadows, it can't because because the fuzzy's in the way. So they just raise their eye a little bit. It keeps their eye up.
Also, I mean, when we were looking at Katie's first horse, Katie Harris's first horse, and also Christian's first horse as well, when they kind of got a little looky at some of the shadows, that's what that's for.
It can help. Yeah, it doesn't always help, but it can help.
Yeah.
And it's not much of a hindrance at all. It just helps them to get their eye up if they tend to look down too much.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be a hindrance at all. It looks like it's nice and fuzzy and comfortable. And 8 faults. The two fences down 71.29 seconds. Natalie Cooper and Conspirit. Unfortunately, they're going to be out of our top placings. As O'Neill still in first and second.
Isn't that fun?
Well, and that's that fence that she had down the back rail on that oxer and just didn't seem to quite get across the oxer.
Yeah, he just didn't measure it very well.
So the horses have to measure the distance as well. It's not just the riders.
Right. I mean, the rider encourages them, but horses have to learn to pay attention and do their part of the job. Takes two.
Well, our next rider riding for the USA, well, certainly one in the legend books, Rich Fellers, and aboard the horse owned by Harry and Molly Chapman. I like this mare, 11-year-old, known as Lux Lady. And Rich always gives him such a nice ride.
Yeah, and this is a quick horse too, but any horse Rich rides becomes a quick horse. He teaches them all to be very, very fast. And he is one to watch because he's excellent in his track. Yeah. And she's stuck just a little bit there off the ground.
Now, at fence number 2, you said she stuck off the ground. Does that affect the horse a little bit later on, going, that didn't feel quite right?
It can. I guess we'll find out.
That first the two combinations. Ailment coming in.
Yeah, she didn't come off the ground so well there. She just was a little bit late with one front leg there.
And so luckily, Rich Fellers now sitting with 8 faults. Nice ride through the combination. Now he seemed to purposely through the combination go to the right a little bit.
Yeah,
Is that to make the turn easier?
I think he's giving himself a little bit more time just to give this horse. He's not really galloping here now. He just wants to give the horse a nice experience to finish.
Nice last fence there, 67.84 seconds. 2 fences down, 8 jumping faults, and that is Lux Lady and Rich Fellers. And unfortunately, they're going to be out of our placings here. Well, you know what? We talked about Enrique Gonzalez. Well, here's fence number 5.
Yeah, she just didn't cross the jump, and she sort of hit it with her belly a little bit.
Yeah, it looked like she hit it with her belly.
Yeah, she didn't. She needed to land about another foot further out.
Well, remember we were talking earlier, Enrique Gonzalez with not the fastest time, but he wanted to go clear. Well, he's still, and you said that possibly could be just to get a nice position. He's on a young horse. Well, he's still in 5th. So that strategy looks like it's paying off.
Right. And about this time, Uma is probably pretty happy because she knows how many horses are left in the class, and she's pretty much going to get a ribbon on both of her horses, no matter if everyone else is brilliant from here on out.
Well, that's true.
Which is a nice feeling to have.
So a 10-year-old stallion here, Rubens Lacia, and the rider from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, Vanessa Mannix.
And there's that dreaded first jump down.
Now, that first fence coming down. Is it because, when they're in the warm-up ring, it's only the horses, the riders, and the trainers there for that. All of a sudden they walk in, the lights here, we have the crowds, and a great crowd tonight. We have more noise that's in the warm-up ring. Could those be factors?
We all would love to figure out why a horse has jump 1 down when we feel like we've prepared in our warm-up to not have a jump down. So we're all disappointed and surprised when the first jump comes down. And so I think it's anybody's guess. Sometimes there's an obvious reason for it, but oftentimes I think the horses are just not quite focused enough, or maybe, we're a little bit slow, or it's hard to say.
Because fence number 1, we're coming to the skinny right now at fence number 10. 2 big oxers remaining, fence number 11 and 12. Fence number 1's rampy.
Well, yes, usually the first jump on a course is the easiest jump on the course. It's usually, kind of a gimme jump. It's very easy and not very wide, and in most cases. And funny enough, oftentimes that simple jump causes a lot of fun.
The last 2 fences, the final fence number 12, biggest oxer on course, easily done. That's always a little frustrating. 4 faults at that first fence, 76.75 seconds. And I do believe just out of our top 8 placings.
It was it was a very pleasant round to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, to have that front rail down behind, maybe she had too much momentum. That horse does have quite a big stride.
Didn't think about that. Because you come in and you're like, okay, I really want to get on the speed part of this.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't back off at all. Maybe she expected him to back off because the horses in the beginning did back off, and she might have overridden that a little bit.
Now here's Jill Prieto for the USA. Carlton Cafe, a 10-year-old gray mare.
And Jill gave us quite a show last night, having to, she got jumped loose early in the course and ended up in front of her saddle, and fortunately was able to keep the horse from continuing on course with her in front of the saddle at the last minute. So she didn't get to jump a lot of jumps last night, so tonight's her night to make up for it.
And Jill took a little bit of a longer approach to fence number 1. Is that based off of the horse, or just, hey, I just happen to be in this part of the ring? Because some are cutting right by the in gate and just coming across halfway, and she came almost all the way down.
Yeah, I think because of what happened last night, she wanted to be sure that this horse had plenty of time to see the first jump. Okay, again, she went to her stick and got away with it. That was very well done. Let's see if it happens again here. She's a very strong rider.
So obviously you do, as the rider, you take into account what happened last night and possibly how the horse is going to, I guess, savor that experience, or possibly not.
Right. And now the horse is getting better. She gave it confidence using her stick early on. Let's see, I looked at the wrong jump too, but yeah.
And did that possibly cause that rail?
Yeah, I think so.
Because you could just see the horse's eye focus on that.
Yeah.
Great horse. I mean, just a
I think she's going to be happy with this round after what happened last night. I mean, she's having to ride it hard, but at the same time, the horse did get better.
Yeah.
She may or may not have needed her stick at that last jump, but obviously she felt that she did.
71.51, 8 jumping faults. Jill Prieto just coming into that combination. And she rode it beautifully. Horse came off the ground well.
She had her work cut out for her tonight, but she got it done.
Well, Firestone S is this 11-year-old gelding, Kristen Harden from the USA. And this horse owned by one of her students, Nicolette Hurt.
Kristen is always a very fast rider. Firestone wins a lot, so she's gonna give it all she's got here.
Now, I noticed some of the other riders that the sound of the tone, 45-second clock counts down, they take a little bit more time. The tone went, and she was right down to business.
There are times when you feel like you need a little more time to let your horse look around, or you want to go over your plan again while you're sitting there, and other times when you feel ready, and if you're ready and your horse is ready, there's no reason not to start.
And does that matter, like if you're going second in the class, you might take a little bit more time versus going where she is at 26th in her competition?
Not necessarily. And I mean, there's many different factors. It could be that you had to wait a little longer to get in the ring than you thought from your warm-up, and you thought your horse might get cold, so you want to keep going. You might get dull. So that's a shame she had that jump down, because she's riding beautifully.
Now, on that, through that combination, and hopefully we'll see that replay again, because you could see the example of the safety cups coming down on that back rail. Up and over that last fence. Brilliant ride, and that was a beautiful ride, Kristen Harden and Firestone S. I think just some tough luck on course.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, she's done really well with this horse and won quite a lot, so it's just not her night tonight.
Okay, so we are coming up. Now, tell us about these cups in the back.
All right, so as she hits this jump and the cup falls there on the ground, and it allows the rail to fall directly down to the ground instead of getting kicked out underneath the horse in front of the horse. So it prevents accidents to some degree, because instead of the horse knocking a jump down and kicking it out in front of them where they could land on it and step on it, it falls closer to where it was set vertically. So it just drops out of the cups and falls to the ground instead of rolling.
Which could be dangerous. Though.
Right,
yes.
right. So we have a lot less accidents now because of these safety cups.
That's a good idea. We always love safety.
Right.
Safety is
Safety
good.
first.
Safety first. Okay, Casey Ament back in the ring for the USA. This is a Zangashada 8-year-old stallion. So a young stallion here, Soren Z. So Casey's already seen this course. She's already ridden this course. She had 8 faults on her first horse.
Right, so she's looking to improve upon that score of hers. Easy in the 3. That was better.
So that second time riding here on the course, it's like, oh, hey, you know what, the 3 maybe
Right.
isn't quite as, I don't have to be quite as aggressive to
Right.
that order. Because this horse is 3 years younger than her other stallion that she rode first.
Right, and she's not trying to be fast enough to win, but she's trying to make the horse into a better horse overall so that maybe next year at this time he'll be better. He's doing great.
He's got a beautiful expression.
Yeah. And she was cautious to make sure he didn't look at the wrong jump there.
And that was too bad having that skinny down.
Yeah, it's tempting. It's tempting to try to turn them a tad too early on the skinny, and because you know you want to turn right and get to that next oxer.
Okay, yeah.
And she might have done that just a tad too early and interrupted his jump.
Well, 8 jumping faults. Well, and the time's going to come up 73.97 seconds. Just 2 fences down, Soren Z and Casey Ament. Nice young stallion there.
Yeah, I think this was a good round for him. I mean, yes, he made a couple of mistakes, but he did a lot of very good things. So see, she's looking and she's turning, but she's turning upon landing before the horse has really cleared the jump behind.
Now, with the one thing with the horse is he came around the corner, he was on the left lead. As he went to take off, he switched over to the right lead.
Right, he's because she's already kind of communicating to him that they're going to land and turn right.
So that could have possibly...
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
He just was anticipating turning. She just communicated it just a little bit too early. And like I said, it's hard to think of one thing and do another.
Well, you know, and I mean, obviously the horses love competing. I don't know. You know, they like to go around. They like to be in the competition arena.
They're show horses. They like to perform.
Yes, they like to perform, and I think he was just like, okay, you know, we're on the left lead, and hey, you know what? I know we're turning right now.
Right. Yeah, and he just forgot about his hind end a little bit up there.
Well, hey, look who's back in the ring. Richard Spooner, master of faster. Another Zangashana, Shiva C. Well, Richard right now in second place, so he knows he's going to have a good placing, but you know he wants to win.
Richard never goes in the ring not to win. At least not that I know of. Okay, that was a very, very quick.
6.
Yep, super quick. And this is a very tight rollback. Probably the tightest we've seen.
So he almost even had to push for that 3 a little bit. I mean, not a massive push, but it was...
Well, because he made such a short rollback, so he landed a little more shallowly than someone that had gone a little further down. Coming off a short turn, you're going to land a little shallow. And that's a leave out there. He's definitely on the pace to win. Oh, watch this. Watch this. This ought to be interesting. Footing gave away a little bit, but he held it up anyway. So I think he's very fast here, don't you think?
Well, he's at 55 right there. I think he's...
Here's going to be 8 strides.
Yeah, he's got it. He's got it.
Yeah, really well done.
There's that clear round. Wow.
Richard says, I'm not letting that young girl beat me.
2.72 seconds. He was faster. Richard Spooner. You can see why he's called the master of faster. And the time to beat, I don't know if that can be better. That was a great ride.
That was beautiful.
Love this turn as you described it. It's such a tight turn.
Right, and so by turning so tight back to this, it makes the 3 ride better for him.
But as he came around the corner, he didn't even touch the horse. I mean, the turn obviously, but it didn't look like he was manipulating the stride. It just looked like it was just a perfect flow. Horse came on the same stride, got to a nice distance.
Yep, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's just a matter of luck, or you happen to be in the right track. But he practices that a lot as well. So his horses look for the jumps out of short turns.
Oh, and they get a treat. So 62.55 seconds. That is the time to beat. Well, Shiva C, Richard Spooner. Okay, Susie, I got to say, if you look at the leaderboard, it actually looks funny. Richard Spooner, O'Neill, Richard Spooner, O'Neill.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun, isn't it?
It's, I mean,
they're obviously the top people of the night. Although we've still got some good contenders here coming up.
We certainly do.
Anything could happen.
Yeah. That's 62.55 seconds. That holds down the lead. Richard Spooner, master of faster, in the lead aboard Shiva Z. And Z Akadare DDL. This rider, and she's a good one at speed. Proved that last week in Long Beach at the Longines Masters of Los Angeles. Hillary McNearney.
There's the 6 again. And 7 strides there instead of the 8 that it walks in. And this is also very well done.
She's coming in looking like she really wants to take this.
Just keeping her cool. Okay, so here's where she can make up the difference.
Turn.
Okay, I think she's a little slower here. But very well done. Okay, come on, let's go. Come on, now's your chance. Nah, she's too wide. I think she's too wide to catch him. Am I wrong?
You might be wrong.
I hope I'm wrong, because that would be exciting.
Oh, yeah, no, she's got it.
She's got it.
She's got it. Wow. Hillary McNearney, Zia Okadane, DDL for the USA, 60.66 seconds. Almost 2 seconds faster than Richard Spooner. There's the turn back from 9B. Back to 10. She's looking, as you said, they look and the horse responds.
Yeah, and this is a very fast horse. I mean, it's very fast in the air, it's very fast across the ground. It's naturally forward.
But she seemed to have the horse's eye focused on that vertical, and that skinny vertical for quite a while. Like it was like, okay, I know exactly where I'm going.
Yeah, she was cautious. I mean, you couldn't really have ridden that any better than she did.
Oh, wow. 60.66 seconds. Hillary McNearney in the lead in the Murreta Inn and Spa. Our meter 45 speed. Just 4 remaining. Can that time be bettered? We're going to find out because these 4, they all have a chance. Bliss Hears and Contendra 22, a 13-year-old mare owned by Bridgeside Farm. This rider spends a lot of time over in Europe.
She does, yes. That's her
home base now?
Yes, that's where she's living now.
Oh, nice pet on that.
That's very fast. She opted for the quiet 8 there so that she could make a tight roll back here.
Great ride through that turn, the rollback turn.
Yeah, so far so good. Oh, a little steering trouble there. This horse is really trying to be careful. Took just a tad more time there, yeah. I feel like this horse was trying really hard, and it just got a little bit rattled.
Just the 2 fences remaining. Bliss Hears of the USA, Contendra 22, and just coming home with that 1 rail. Oh.
Yeah, I think the horse just got intimidated a little bit with things coming up so quickly.
Well, 62.71 seconds, and unfortunately, they will be out of our placings. 8 faults. Now, those rollback turns, because we're doing 9AB here, and we know that rollback turn happens right after. We have that back rail down. Now, does that take a little bit of confidence out of the horse?
For sure, yeah. And it really tried hard coming out of B, and Bliss kept her focus. She didn't let it rattle her. She kept going on to the next jump like it had never happened.
Now, the rollback turns. Because there are a couple of rollbacks, and there's the tighter turn from 1 to 2, from 9B to 10. How much pace does that take away, or how much more do you have to ride your horse through those to keep your leg on, to keep the power there?
Yeah, you need to keep the power there, and you want to, you have to decelerate a little bit, just like you do in a car, to start a turn, and then you want to accelerate if possible as you come out of the turn. So, horses that are the fastest are the ones that have their own engine.
So back to that with the rollbacks, and you said, that's
a horse that has natural momentum in its gait, that carries itself forward naturally, is easier to roll back in turns with, because you don't have to keep kicking at the same time. So you don't have to keep the RPMs up. The horse does that naturally. And most speed horses tend to be a little more hot-blooded, if you will, because they can do that all on their own, and the rider doesn't have to do that part.
So if they're not more, if they don't have as you said, they're not hot-blooded. I mean, it really sounds like it's a little bit more of a technical type of ride that you have to do to determine every stride as they're coming around those rollback turns to go, okay, did I lose something? Did I not lose something? With the horses that are a little bit more not dull, but I mean the ones that aren't really quite as hot-blooded.
Well, you try to go forward, but it's always easier if your car is rolling along on its own and all you have to do is steer.
Yeah, that's true. That's so, very, very true.
It's easier to steer when you're not having to accelerate at the same time into the corner. If the horse is helping you to do that itself, then I think that makes it a little bit easier.
Now, is that something that can be taught? That you can take a horse that...
Sure, you can teach a horse to go faster. I mean, you can teach a horse to be more responsive and carry you quicker, but there's always going to be some that are just naturally more forward on their own than others.
Yeah. So it's I mean it's fascinating because of I mean the horses all are I hate to say they're all kind of like people. I mean everybody has their own little different personalities, the different traits, the different likes and dislikes.
Absolutely, they do.
That's a huge challenge, especially because you can't. There's no verbal communication.
Right. You have to communicate through your riding ability.
That is amazing. First of 3 remaining. Well, Jessica Springsteen, love this rider. She's a great rider. Deputy S is a 13-year-old mare. Nice slice on fence number 1.
I think she might have planned on 6. You can't really count on a number so much in a turn like that. There's too many variables. You might have a number in mind on a short turn like that, but you might not be able to stick to it.
So it's not like paint by numbers where it's
not
like
so
ride by
much,
numbers.
no.
It's ride by, okay, this is the plan, but then things happen.
Right.
She's having a
little bit of a rub there.
But those rubs, does it just help to kind of get the horse's attention back, or?
Well, you hope so. You hope they think, oh, I made a little bit of a mistake there. Okay, her horse definitely got its eye on that jump. And every horse that gets its eye on the wrong jump seems to have that skinny down.
Is that because it just all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm jumping that one, and they go, no, you're jumping this one?
Exactly, yeah. And they can think fast enough to get their front end out of the way, but not always the back end.
And look at that time, sub 60 seconds. First rider to do that, Jessica Springsteen, Devin DS, but unfortunately 4 faults. Well, sorry, my apologies. Second rider to do that, Eduardo Vanessas also was sub 60. There's that
Here
skinny.
we go, yeah. So he just looked at the wrong jump and then was good in front, but couldn't remember his hind end. Her hind end. It's a mare.
Yes, yeah, 13-year-old mare. But that you're right, because every horse has come around and done that rollback turn when they get their eye on the landing side of fence number 4, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, your focus has to be over here.
Never mind, just kidding.
Yeah. Well, so just 2 remaining. Well, we know this rider, this next one, he can drive really fast.
We know that, yeah. We learned that in the ride and drive earlier.
We learned that in the ride and drive. And he can also, ride really fast as well. And that's going to help him out in the $36,500 Murreta Inn and Spa, meter 45 speed, with Guido Plata from Germany and Julio 23, a 9-year-old stallion. So time to beat 60.66 seconds. 2 riders have been faster than that, but they couldn't keep all the fences up. Get the 7 there.
Yeah, and the number I don't think from 1 to 2 is so important. It's great to do 6, but the 7 is only 1 extra stride. It doesn't slow you down that much.
Well, especially because fence number 2 really hasn't caused any problems.
Right.
It's the skinny that.
It's that dreaded skinny.
It's that skinny fence.
Well, this is pretty quick so far. He made sure he got straight there. He didn't want to take any chances there.
So now, as a coach for this turn, are you like telling your rider, get your horse's eye on that fence soon enough?
Yeah, if you can. I mean, sometimes, the intention is there, but the horse doesn't follow your hand so well. This is very fast.
Oh, he's super fast.
Oh, in the 8. Oh, there. Oh, that's quick.
60.75 seconds in the second place. Wow. So, Guido Glata into second place, 60.75. But our time to beat, 60.66 seconds. Still Hillary McNerney. So we're coming down like it's fractions of a second.
Right, and that was a super ride, and often these classes are determined by fractions of a second.
Just a beautiful jump over that oxer at fence number 3.
It was a really well done round, and he gave his horse the time it needed in the places that it needed the time.
Well, you know what? Final to go from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. He rides for Spruce Meadows, Chris Serby, and Cavarola, a 9-year-old gray mare. Now, okay, going last. We've talked about going first before. Going last, any advantage, disadvantage? Or are you kind of like, okay, I've waited now for a little bit, and now's my time, or the nerves?
Well, I think at this point, I mean, he knows how fast the other riders have been. I think he's just going to stick to his plan. And it's the rider against the course, pretty much. He lost his footing a little there.
Because that was a fairly aggressive turn he was trying to get from 1 to 2. Oh, it looks like he's going to jump this at an angle.
Well, that was tricky. But it may catch up to him somewhere along the line. We'll see. I would almost say that, you know, sometimes you have a little bit of a disadvantage going toward the end of a class like this, because when there's so many tight turns, the footing does get churned up a little bit. So sometimes it doesn't hold as well as it does in the beginning of the class.
Well, the one thing I do have to say, looking at the track, I mean, our GGT footing is holding up perfectly.
Yeah, it's solid. No one's at risk.
Yeah.
He's pretty quick.
He's very quick. He wants to put the maple leaf on top of the leaderboard right now. There's that final fence.
Oh, goodness.
Yes,
he does it.
He does it. Wow. What a ride. He's happy with that. You can tell with that fist bump right there. Chris Serby. Cavarola, sub 60 and clear. You know what? He laid that track down. That was beautiful.
Well, this has been a great class to watch, because when they just get faster and faster toward the end of the class, you know it's a fun class to watch.
Let's look at that turn back to fence number 4.
Well, and then what he did to the last jump, the horse really gave him a heck of an effort there.
It's like he gave himself a little bit more room through that 3.
Yeah, I don't know that was necessarily on purpose.
Well, yes.
It worked out.
Yes. No, Chris Serby, he's got to be happy with that one. He rides for Spruce Meadows of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. That 9-year-old mare, also owned by Spruce Meadows. And certainly congratulations to that Canadian rider, Chris Serby. $36,500 Murreta Inn and Spa and Restaurant, meter 45 speed. And wow, Chris Serby right at the end. To me, that's the Cinderella ending.
Exactly, and he got a little bit lucky when he jumped in at an angle like he did, but it paid off. It saved him some time.
he grabbed the dice, he rolled them.
Yeah,
He's like,
it worked.
It came out exactly how it should. Well, we're going to get right down to business, get the arena changed just a little bit, and we're going to look through our top placings. Chris Serby, obviously, with the win. Hillary McNerney in second. Guido Glata in third. Richard Spooner, well, he's going to take home 4th and 6th. Uma in 5th and 7th. Christian Heineken, 8th place. On Enrique Gonzalez in 9th. Eduardo Meneses in 10th. Jessica Springsteen in 11th and 12th. That is Georgina Bloomberg of New York, New York. Well,
what a great class.
Tomorrow.
We have tomorrow.
Back. Let's talk about tomorrow, because tomorrow, and this is where we're going to be, in fact, on FEI TV tomorrow, and all produced by EQ Sportsnet Production. And that is the Longines FEI World Cup Jumping Sacramento, presented by Lasher's Elk Grove Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. And that is going to be a great event. 28 horse and rider combinations, from what I'm told, and they are vying for not only, and I do believe, $100,000 in prize money.
That's right.
But as well, this is World Cup season.
Yep, we're qualifying for the World Cup final.
And the World Cup finals are going to be
in Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska.
That's right.
That's going to be great. That's going to be this springtime. I do believe it's April 2017. I can't believe we're already in the 2017. But the Longines FEI World Cup Jumping Sacramento, once again presented by Lasher's Elk Grove Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. I'm told a 7 p.m. start time. It will be on FEI TV, and that is tomorrow. And tomorrow is going to be a fantastic Saturday. The 2016 Sacramento International Horse Show here in beautiful Rancho Murrieta, California, just on the outskirts of Sacramento, the capital of California. And this is, it's a great facility. It's just the countryside is beautiful.
And the weather's been great. It's been a little cool at night, a little warm during the day. It's beautiful.
And tomorrow, it's in fact, well, aside from the increase in temperature outside, it's supposed to heat up. The competition inside is going to heat up as well.
And there's a lot of money at stake.
A lot of money. And you know what? Because there are, I do believe, 7 qualifiers on the West Coast, 7 on the East Coast, total of 14 in North America, all the way from Canada, the United States, and Mexico, that these World Cup qualifiers are very valuable. I mean, you have to make sure that you plan your strategy, possibly go to all of them, to try to make sure that you qualify for your team to get to those finals.
And your top 4 scores are what counts now. So
yes,
you take your top 4 scores in any of those events, and that's what you base off. That's what they base picking the team to go to the World Cup final on.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see 2017 who gets to wear the red coat for the United States at the finals. Well, we already know that, Rich Fellers, he won in 2012. He stopped that 25-year drought for the United States with winning the World Cup finals that year. And then subsequently we've had more American riders after that. But 25-year drought for the U.S. with Rich Fellers stopping that in 2012. But at this point in time in the season, with the finals, we're on that golden path to the finals, anybody right across the planet could be crowned 2017 World Cup champion.
That's right.
That's always that interesting thing where it's day to day, week to week, whatever. You can put your money on somebody and say, okay, this person, they won yesterday. And that's the interesting thing about this industry, this sport, is nothing's guaranteed.
No. And you got to have a little luck on your side.
Well, you know what? Susan Ortez, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Davin.
And everybody on, FEI, YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. And on behalf of all of our wonderful sponsors, $36,500 Murreta Inn and Spa and Restaurant, our Meter 45 speed competition. And we go down to the field with Max and our in-ring announcer.
Let's welcome to the red carpet here our presenters, Taylor Spooner from West Palm Events, Mr. Dale Harvey from West Palm Events, and of course, Carol Ward, the owner of the Murreta Inn and Spa, to meet our champion. Congratulations to Chris Serby aboard Cavarola, your winner. Danielle Ballard also joining us on the red carpet here is once again your winner. What a great effort. The final entry in the ring, just as Hillary thought she was going to take the victory, along came a rider and 1 second faster, 59.60. Your winner once again, Cavarola and Chris Serby. Let's meet the remainder of our winners here. Your reserve champion goes to Hillary McNerney, owning and riding Z Akrote DDL. A third place finish for Julio Guido Clata Jr., riding for Victoria Clata. Two top 8 placings for the Master and Faster, Richard Spooner, owning and showing Shivas Z in 4th, and he'll take home 6th aboard the Little Valley Farms entry, Cornancer. Also, 2 top placings for our next rider, Uma O'Neill, whose horse is wanting to go ahead to the exit here. So Uma O'Neill, 5th and 7th aboard her 2 horses, Clockwise of Green Hill Z, as well as Citello. And your 8th place award winner, Christian Heineking and NKH Kalongo. We'd, of course, like to thank our proud sponsor and, of course, owner of the Murrieta Inn and Spa as we look forward to that beautiful inn and spa right across the street, Ms. Carol Ward, and, of course, our president, Mr. Dale Harvey, joining us here. We have one more request from our overall champion. We'd have our winner, Mr. Chris Serby and Cavarolo, lead us off in a gallop of victory. As they come by the red carpet, your champion, Chris Serby. Hillary McNerney. Guido Cotta Jr. Richard Spooner. Christian Heineken. And congratulations to all of our top 8 finishers. More show jumping action happening one night away, ladies and gentlemen. Join us right here for the FEI World Cup Jumping Sacramento at the Sacramento International Horse Show. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a wonderful evening. The vendors are open. Grab yourselves a little piece from the souvenir booth for our SIHS International event. My name's Max von Zimmerman. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.